when we write, we write with independent clauses. An independent clause is a complete sentence, has a subject and a predicate. It's a complete thought. Sometimes when we have these independent clauses, these complete sentences, we sometimes like to introduce them with some added material. When we do that, when we have something that introduces something to our independent clause, it's called a long introductory phrase and clause. And when we include that, we need to have a comma that separates the phrase or the clause with the independent sentence, with the complete thought. So, for example, let's look here, number 1, right here. The independent clause is the origin of a piece of music is often forgotten. Has a subject, has a predicate. But we want to introduce it with something. So we say, after a long period of time. That's your introductory phrase. After a long period of time is not an independent clause, but it is something that introduces. So you write that and then you put a comma. The origin of the piece of music is often forgotten. Okay? So you might have an introductory clause. When people write classical music, they are called composers. They are called composers. Your independent clause, this first introductory clause, is what helps introduce it. So you put a comma right there. All right, so that's if you use an introductory clause or phrase. But sometimes in your writing you use two adjectives to describe a noun, and both adjectives equally describe the noun. When you do that, you put them side by side, but you put a comma in between. For example, not all composers are trained professional musicians. Musicians is my noun. Trained and professional equally describe musicians. So, you put a comma between them. Not all composers are trained professional musicians. Both adjectives describing this noun equally. All right, let's do some practice. Go ahead and open your book, your workbook, skills book, to page 13. We have 4 problems we're going to go through. The first one's been done for us. It says that we should include a comma if it's needed, or if the sentence is correct, we just write correct on the line. So the first one, although you may find it hard to believe, this right here is an introductory phrase. So you put a comma right there. Chopsticks was actually composed by someone. Number 2, loud pounding versions of chopsticks have been played by many beginning pianists. Versions, noun, I have an adjective, I have an adjective. They equally describe versions, so I have to put a comma there. Loud, comma, pounding versions. Number 2, the person who created chopsticks was a talented, high-strung teenager from Great Britain. All right, so teenager is my noun. I see that I have 2 adjectives, talented and high-strung, both describing the teenager equally. I need a comma between. Number 4, when the tune first appeared in 1877, it was called the Celebrated Chopsticks Waltz, arranged as a duet and solo for the pianoforte. Okay, so here we have an introductory clause. When the tune first appeared in 1877, comma. So that's my introductory information. The independent clause, the sentence, it was called the Celebrated, and it goes on. So when you have this introductory, you put a comma. All right, let's pause this video, and I want you to turn to page 14. Go ahead and do 5 through 10 on your own, and when you've completed those, come back to the video and we will check them together. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to do number 5 through 10. Let's look at number 5. Then the long, complicated name of the piece was shortened to simply chopsticks. I see I have a noun here. I see I have 2 adjectives that describe the name, long, complicated, so I need to have a comma between. Then the long, comma, complicated name. All right. Number 6. The term pianoforte is just a fancy name for piano. There's no introductory clause or phrase. There's no 2 adjectives describing the same noun. So, this one is correct. Number 7. You might think that chopsticks was named after the long, thin eating utensils used by the Chinese. Okay. Utensils, my noun. I have long and thin. Those 2 adjectives describe the eating utensils. So, and they equally do it. So, you might think that chopsticks was named after the long, comma, thin eating utensils used by the Chinese. Number 8. We have an introductory phrase here. As a matter of fact, the name chopsticks comes from da-da-da. Okay? As a matter of fact, comma, that's just introductory stuff. The name chopsticks comes from the chopping. This is the introductory, and the rest is the independent clause or the complete sentence. All right, number 9. We have another introductory phrase. At the time that Euphemia wrote her masterpiece, there's my introductory phrase, one-finger piano pieces were popular with children. Okay? And number 10. Little did she know that she was composing such a timeless, universal piece of music. All right, so piece of music is my noun. Universal describes that, and timeless describes it. They equally described the piece of music, so I put a comma between it because they're 2 adjectives that equally describe a noun, so we need a comma. All right, hopefully you had some success here. If you have any questions, please see me.